Welcome back to another lesson, everybody. We'll be covering how to be social in a digital world. That's right. And by an extrovert, that's me, so you could say I'm quite credible. So let's jump into it. So obviously in this digital world, you have a phone. Okay? Now, on the phone, you are confident, right? You're confident, you're funny, you're witty, and you text fast. Now, there's a little con with this, but we'll get to this later. But now let's say versus in person, this is you. So this is you. In person, you're a human being, right? And when you're trying to be social, you get nervous. Now, this isn't the case for everybody, but there's supposed to be sweat beads. Now, this isn't the case but you're a human being. Now, this isn't the case for everybody, right? But it's easier to be confident, funny, witty, and fast online than it is to be witty, smart, confident, and funny as a human being. Okay, so according to real studies, and I quote real because I'm real and I came up with these. So your brain, it has two modes, okay? So let's just mark this as your brain. It's a very bad brain, but it's a brain. So your brain, it has two modes. See, so you have your digital mode, right? And then you have your IRL mode, right? So now your digital mode, you can let's say delete, you can edit, and you have time, right? So you have time. But in real life, there's no delete button, and let's say so like no pause, right? There's no pause, there's no cover up, okay? So there's no cover up, right? So your brain uses these and sort of gives the assumption that without the protections that you have on social media, your brain sort of has to default to not talking. So not being social, okay? And that's understandable because your brain in person or in real life, it's way more conscious than it is digitally, right? So we could say this is when you're digital, it's more right? Subconscious, right? Well, this side, it's very conscious. And I spelled conscious wrong because I have ADHD, but conscious, okay? So when your brain is very conscious, you overthink. You tend to overthink, and I will be covering overthinking in a separate video. But when you overthink, you'd rather avoid than overthink, if you understand what I'm saying. So feel free to copy this now. But in summary, the digital side of your brain is very subconscious because you can delete, edit, and you have time, right? You don't have to go face to face. You don't have to have eye contact, right? But in real life, it's quite the opposite. You can't pause, you can't cover up. You have to make eye contact, and you have to actually talk to people. So this would lead you to not be social because you're trying to avoid any chance for you to slip up because you can't delete anything, right? So that's the difference here. And like always, there's math involved. Totally not a formula I made up, but there's math involved. So basically, let's say so we have one side, right? So you have be social. Okay. So being social requires two things. You need to have confidence multiplied by words, right? So being social means you have to have confidence, but you also have to be able to speak words. Without confidence, you can't speak words. And without words, you can't be confident. Well, actually, no. In theory, you could be confident without words, but in order to relay this confidence, to enhance the confidence, you should probably speak. If you don't like talking to people, I have a solution for you. So let's move this here. Let's have a little box. So there's two types of confidence to be social. The physical confidence, right? So physical confidence means you stand up straight, right? You have good clothes, I guess. So you could say like, I don't know, good clothes. Good clothes. This isn't necessarily good, but they're clothes, right? So good clothes, right? You're fashionable, you're in style. This means that you can be confident in your heart. Your hair is done well, right? And this applies for males and females, right? Physical confidence. So physical confidence. Physical confidence. This means you look nice, and that means you look confident, right? Now, there's also verbal confidence. If you know you're not the handsomest or best looking person in the world, I can relate, but verbal confidence. Verbal confidence means you're witty, you don't stutter, you don't pause, or well, you pause, but you don't use filler words like, or, So, this verbal confidence means you're very confident in the way you speak. You can basically talk to anybody. And this confidence, I feel personally, this is 10 times the physical. Because anybody can look confident, but when you actually go try to talk to them, it doesn't necessarily work out. So, verbal confidence. So, this means you can talk to anyone. So, anyone, right? Anytime, right? Any place. So, this verbal confidence. You're nice, you're kind. So yeah, so let's say you're nice, right? You're funny, and you're smart. Smart. These are the three things that equate to verbal confidence. So it's up to you whether you want to make your persona physical confidence and also verbal confidence, right? So remember this, when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you can be social and you can be confident. Now, when you know you can talk to anyone without the fear of repercussions, that's confidence. And that's also knowing that even though you're imperfect, you can still talk. So these are the two types. And if you have both of them, you can be social. Even if you have only one, you can be social, right? So they sort of play off each other. Now, if you're still worried about this, here's the solution, okay? So simply step one, okay? Step one is simply don't try to be impressive, right? Don't try Don't try. You can be impressive, but just don't try too hard. Try to be impressive, okay? Impressive. Don't try to be impressive. It shows that you're a try hard, obviously. So don't try to be impressive. Okay? Step two. Step two. Accept the fact you're going to slip up. So accept you're gonna make a mistake. Slip up, right? So accept you're gonna slip up. You may not want it. You're gonna try to avoid it, which it's gonna happen. How many years do you have in life? Maybe 30, 40, 50, 60 years. You're gonna slip up at least 3 times, okay? And there's nothing you can do about that. But think about it. Try to think back to a time where you saw somebody slip up and it was super embarrassing. It's gonna be pretty hard, but you're still gonna think about it. But you're not thinking every morning waking up, what was the last time that somebody messed up? Somebody got embarrassed. Like nobody actually wakes up to think like that. So you should stop overthinking because these are also related to overthinking. Overthinking. Thinking. All right, and I'm gonna cover overthinking on a separate video, but these are all related to overthinking. So these are the two steps to sort of banish your overthinking, right? And now I have a little rule I came up with, right? It's more of a ratio. So I call it the 70 to 30 rule. If this applies if you are very worried, okay, worried to embarrass yourself, right? So the 70-30 rule, okay? The way it works is that 70% of the time you're in interactions, specifically group interactions, when you're with in a group, 70% of the time you should listen, okay? You should listen. It makes you mysterious, right? And 30% of the time you can talk. Remember, this is only if you're very worried. If you're with a group of friends, you're obviously not going to be nervous because you're around people who you feel confident in. But this is trying to be social with others you don't necessarily are best of friends with, right? So 70-30. 70% you're going to listen, 30% you're going to talk. But if you're really nervous, there's like 90-10. You're going to be panicking 90% of the time. Panic 90% of the time. And then this is when you're going to speak. This is probably where you guys are at right now if you're super social anxiety, right? If you have super social anxiety. So you should probably try to listen to the 70-30 rule. Be conscious of what you're saying. Be conscious of what others are saying. If you want to try to chime in, here's a little tip. Tips to chime in, right? So tips to talk. Tips to be a human. Try to bounce off others' ideas, right? Bounce off ideas, right? Find common values, right? Find common values and also find common interests, right? So find common interest. So bounce off other people's ideas, find your common values, find your common interests. Those are how you talk to people. And even at the end of the day, if you're still worried about talking to other people, here's my advice for you. Talk in low risk places, right? So talk in low risk places. So this means places where there's not too many people and where like conversations can't escape, right? And people won't overthink because it's a simple interaction. So this would be like, I don't know, the classmate you sit next to, classmate next to you, right? When you're at a Walmart or something like a cashier maybe, cashier, you can say, "How's your day been?" Right? And then people around your friend group, right? This is how you talk to people because not only might they share the same interests, but they share the same friends. So if they have the same friends, they may be somebody who you could be friends with. Think about that. And then here's the last thing. People like others, okay? Here's a little secret. People like to be heard. People like to be listened to. So if you don't know what to say, if you don't know what to say, if you if you do not know what to say, this is very easy and it'll make people respect you. Okay? Just ask questions. This shows that you want to get to know the person. You could literally ask somebody like, "Do you like BTS?" And then they'll go, "Wow, somebody's actually interested if I like BTS." And they'll be like, "Damn right, I love BTS." So that's how to do it in person. I know online is different because you could just like send a reel, react to a reel, and if a conversation gets dry, not talk anymore, just leave the person unread. But you can't do that in person. That's the hard part. And it's the truth. So finally, in conclusion, here's what I'm saying. You do not have to delete social media, okay? Delete it. So you don't have to delete Insta. Yeah. You don't have to delete Insta. You don't have to delete X. You don't have to delete Twitter. Whatever you guys use, I don't know. But you don't have to delete any of these, right? Or Snapchat. Don't forget about that. So you can say Snapchat, right? Just be realistic, okay? Spend like slightly less time scrolling and more time sort of existing, trying to find people. Even like 5% less, that's progress. So in conclusion, if you're still here watching this video, I don't want you guys to sort of think that you're bad at being social because you're not. You are actually good. You good at being social, right? You're good at being social. You're just sort of operating the wrong way by being online. So all you got to do is just straight up, in a way like update your system in a way that you would be more social, spend less time online. I know it's social media, but it's still media at the end of the day. You just want to be social. So occasionally go outside, occasionally try to meet new people, and maybe just say the words out loud and go talk to people. Thank you for joining me in this lesson. I hope you learned something about it. Have a great day.